And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show. And this is going to be episode 417. So I hope you guys had a great day and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, we have one topic for you guys for this episode of the MSK show. And that is going to be on Jim Lee admits the comic book industry is failing. So good old Jim Lee, legendary artist Jim Lee, has finally admitted what we've all been talking about for so long. He actually ended up pulling the curtain back and actually going into the same very topic that we always talk about here as to why, like, manga has just destroyed the Western comic book industry in sales and actually capturing, the younger audiences throughout, generation to generation, actually. But, I will
I thought
always
you were going to
respect.
say why Hush 2 was Jim Lee was finally going to talk about why Hush 2 hasn't finished yet.
Nah, he just rather
Now
do
he don't want to
interviews,
talk about that
actually.
shit. But well, manga, manga's great. It
Yeah,
comes out on time. You know
that's
who doesn't
crazy.
fuck around? Oda Sensei. He gets his shit out and people get to enjoy it.
You know what's crazy about One Piece? If you guys don't know, so
Jim Lee has dishonored his family. I'm just saying.
Action Comics and Detective Comics actually started in what, like the 40s, 50s or some shit. Oda with One Piece started in like what, late 90s, early 2000s, and now at this point his One Piece series, his One Piece manga has more chapters in it than Detective Comics and Action Comics. And it's actually, let me see where One Piece is currently at. One Piece is almost going to be on like chapter 1200. But oh, just understand how much of a head start Detective Comics and Action Comics have actually had before One Piece. I mean, those specific series started from like when comic books were actually just becoming a thing in America. And Oda came out with his One Piece series many years later, decades later, and has outlapped both Marvel and DC in terms of like, longest running ongoing series. Because like you would think that Amazing Spider-Man should have like the 1,000 number on there for his comic book series for Spider-Man for Marvel, but nope, they always
Well, dude,
relaunch it with a new
where
number
would it?
one.
Yeah, where would it even be at? Like, what's the number for it right now? It's like they
The
always
legacy number
fuck
for
with it, and
Spider-Man.
then
Let me check right
yeah,
now. One Piece Shonen Jump. I have to go to the Shonen Jump app really quickly. Yeah, or Viz, whatever they call it. So One Piece. So One Piece now is on chapter 1171. Detective Comics just had Detective Comics just had issue 1106 or 5 come out. Action Comics is going to be hitting 1100. I don't think this year, but probably 2027. So One Piece is many chapters further than Detective Comics and Action Comics. And also, you know, One Piece as manga chapters come out every single week, and Oda has put in the work. And it's something where you gotta just respect that. Like that man has some major dedication to his craft and making sure he puts out his manga chapters on time. And that's definitely rewarded him having the longest running manga series currently, next to what,
and it's
Detective Conan, probably. Like Case Closed is another one that's another long
yeah, not
running
even just
manga
that, dude,
series.
but like when it comes to a creator, I mean, he's the owner and creator of this. This is his vision. I don't know how much of it's Shonen Jump actually, like how much do they get to keep of it? How much does Shonen own
Probably
it? But
a
it's
little
his
bit.
thing.
There has to be some
Yeah,
level that they're gonna
they
keep.
publish it, but like at every inch of it, it's his, and he's very staunch about keeping it correctly. Like even the shit with the Netflix deal. I mean, the show wouldn't have been. I mean, I know some people like it, some people don't. My kids seemed to enjoy it, and I didn't mind it. So I would say something of a success, and it's a success because he stayed there and he kept a steady hand on it. Netflix would have
Yeah.
fucked it up if Oda wasn't there. But it just
Mhm.
goes to speak like what a. I mean, did he didn't leave something, and I appreciate that he stuck by something that he made so much. So like this is him. This is what he'll be known for. This is his mark on the world, society, or
Mhm.
creativity, narrative, whatever. It's One Piece. It's the one thing he's done, and for the most part, I mean, the fans are the fans, and it only seems to grow fans. You don't hear people getting detracted. You hear people who don't want to watch it because it's an undertaking at this point. It's so huge. There's so much to it. And there will be. It'll stand forever. Like you will only see more people enjoy it even after Oda passes and he's gone from the world. This will stand as a great story. And it really is. I mean, it is. I mean, I love it because there's a hint of populism to it. There's such a great anti-government, anti-establishment. You
Yeah.
know, the evils of the government, like the shit that you get out of there that the world government does is fuck. Like
Hmm.
some of the most dark, fucked, terrible concepts. Like I'm in the Dressrosa arc right now of the anime, which is fucking long. It's not Wano County long, but it's the second. Like people get frustrated. The things that people get frustrated with over that are fans and they keep watching even after is because some of the arcs are like 150 fucking episodes and it takes
Yeah, and
forever.
it's not to say that
You know,
manga doesn't have its issues. Like, I want people to
it does.
understand before we get into the actual topic. I'm going to use that for the video. When I hear people say manga doesn't have anything political, that's just a lie. Like, I mean, I can
But
tell
you don't
you.
need it either. I mean, that's the
Well,
great
it's
part about
it's
it too.
it's it's a political undertone for that world. But to say that
Yeah,
manga doesn't have political anything, that's just a lie. That means I can tell you aren't watching or reading. Sorry,
yeah.
when someone tells me that, I know they're not reading the manga and they're not watching anime. We'll use what is considered the best, one of, if not the best anime of all time, Full Metal Alchemist. Whether you're watching the original, which had filler, which was good, or the Brotherhood. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has political undertones to it, and if you don't believe that, you're retarded, and I can tell you didn't fucking watch the show or read the manga. If you're gonna tell me Fullmetal Alchemist doesn't have political themes to it, you're stupid. That is just like,
Well,
bro, what are you even
and
talking about?
and that's the thing. Like it's they do it in such a way that is at a kind of level like people who are competent at it, Full Metal Alchemist or Oda with his. He's
Mhm.
making statements that most people can agree with, and um, you'll find appreciation of it on at least like in America. You'll find appreciation of it on both sides of the aisle too, because there was the weird stuff with like I can't remember, it was the Prison Break arc with the trans character or whatever with some power
What do
that
you
they
mean,
could
Ivankov?
change.
Yeah, it was more like a
Yeah.
drag queen. I wouldn't really call that a trans
Well,
character.
it wasn't. I mean, that's they want to like be all about it, but it's like it was kind of that. But like, it was like it was back in like the '90s or the early 2000s, where they could have fun with it and kind of joke around it, and it was like
Hmm.
it was less militant than it is today. It was less like let's force this mental disorder on children. It wasn't like that. Like you weren't getting that from it. Was it there? Yes, but it was done in such a way that it wasn't as problematic as most people would like things to be today. It was done with like a nod and a wink to the idea of like, we're doing this, but it's also kind of silly and kind of goofy. Um, but yeah, I mean, are there political things? Yes, there is, but not like in a way that it isn't so forced into the story ham-fistedly that it detracts from the overall story. And if there's one, it doesn't detract. It helps build the world as opposed to make the entire world about that subject. And that's, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
and many of other things
Because you
and
could use
that's
Gundam. Wasn't the original
oh,
Gundam
Gundam is all
series?
politics.
Yeah, yeah. But what people forget about politics is that if they're using their own world's politics and they're trying to establish what their in world government is, like that's not really political messaging. Political messaging would be something along the lines of like if there's characters in the universe in that like in a city and they're protesting and they're saying like I don't know, immigrant lives matter. Okay, that would be political messaging, right? That would be something where it's literally on the nose. They're basically saying, hey, this is what we're actually talking about in the episode. But you could also use
Yeah.
that in an episode of anime where it doesn't even reflect how all the characters think because they're all going to think about it differently from how they're going to write them. So it's just so odd when people say that manga doesn't have anything political to it. It's like, yes, it does. It's just not, it's just written in a much better way that you can consume it than the way that Western comic books typically write, political stories.
Yeah.
Like you can write political stories. You can. It's something that manga's been doing for a long time. So if manga has and this is mine, it's not just manga, but people understand this. It's different people that have done this, like Tite Kubo, Masashi Kishimoto, Hirokoshi for My Hero Academia, there's Oda with One Piece. Different people have actually managed to master this craft in their manga, where they can write political themes and story arcs, and people can go like, okay, I understand. You have people literally theorizing with hour-long breakdown videos of a manga creator's concept from like a random chapter or an episode in the anime where it depicts the events differently. So when people say that like comics shouldn't do political stories, I mean, there's no reason why you can't. It really just depends on how it's executed. Like, if the story starts off with Superman's son at a rally, you know.
Well, and so that's the thing. Like, what people are saying in that is like, we don't need modern day actual real life politics. And in all honesty, I'm gonna tell you right now, there aren't even the in world politics, like especially with Superman. Now, if you're talking about like Gundam is a political story by the nature of it. It's kind of a military story. It's a
Yeah.
war story. But the nice thing about Gundam is it's not American politics. It's barely Japanese politics. It's the
Yeah.
politics of the world that the creators created out of it. It's all made up bullshit. It isn't
Mhm.
trying to insert real world messaging into something or other. And then and this is the thing. These shows are popular not because of it though, and this is the thing that people
Yeah.
also misconstrue. Like One Piece isn't popular because it tells a political message. One Piece is popular almost in spite of the fact that there are occasional late in the series political elements talking about the world government.
Mhm.
And the decrying of it. And most people, at least most sane people who are honest, would decry the idea of one world government, especially the fucking government in One Piece. The government and Navy are not good people, and not all the pirates are good people. Not all the pirates are pirates like you think of pirates, I guess you could say. Some of them are just really would be called adventurers in most older American stories, as opposed to pirates. They're out on the sea, high seas, finding adventure. But like, then there's plenty of anime that's popular that has no real politics to it at all. Like Naruto has no real politics to it. It's about, I mean, there may be politics between the tribes and shit, but there's nothing you're going to misconstrue for something out of American or Japanese or European politic in Naruto. You're just going to
Yeah.
have tribes dealing with each other. And is there by nature, yes, there's some politic to that. But when people use the colloquial term, I don't like politics in my story, they don't want to see Spider-Man at a fucking anti-ice rally or Batman
Yeah.
strangling ice officers and shit. That's what they're talking about.
Or
They're
you had the
talking about
one
the
with that
politics of today.
or not, or even just there was that IDW artist or whatever, that Looney Tune, where he posted a picture of Shadow holding a gun and the ice agents are behind him. No, sorry, he posted a picture of like Shadow holding a gun and ice agents trying to confront Shadow. Yeah, that's what people don't want. People don't want their favorite character being used as a political vehicle for
Yeah,
messaging. But if you have a universe like Gundam or Naruto or Bleach or One Piece where there's political undertones to how that in-world structure works, that's an
yeah.
entirely different thing. I don't understand why people keep misconstruing them. They're not hard concepts to understand, you know? Also,
It's because they're not
DC
bright.
experimented with a story like that. I forgot the actual run and writer on the story, but I remember this story did get backlash from when they had a story about like which character of the Justice League would vote for, as far as like who would they pick to vote for. Obviously, and like Batman, and keep in mind that the story itself, I'm not sure if it was good for a lot of people or was handled very well, but just that kind of thing that's where people will get angry. Like, why does this matter though? Why does it matter who Batman or Superman would vote for? Obviously, Batman's a billionaire. He would vote for the person who gives him the best tax breaks. Wonder
Yeah,
Woman wouldn't vote at all. She shouldn't, because that would be essentially, she's from Themyscira, so that would be a foreign person voting in an American election, which is probably not even legal. Personally, you can't do that at all. Superman, I'm pretty sure he would just vote locally if he really cared, honestly. Uh, Green Arrow would typically vote for the Democratic person. That's kind of who he is. Hal Jordan would vote for whoever is running for the Republican Party.
yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, why is there a story about that? And that's not even well done. That's just so on the nose. It's like, who? No, you must tell me who Batman would vote for. It's like, I don't know why that really matters, honestly. That doesn't actually help story-wise, you know? I don't get why people always confuse
Yeah,
the two. It's like seeing Superman's gay son at a rally versus like, hey, maybe helping Kryptonians that survived Krypton's explosion on Earth. There's a different way of handling that. Bellman, what's up, man? Says, like how in Death Note, they showed its own version of politicizing in various ways throughout. Yeah, they did. In a world building way. Politics in
yeah,
Naruto centers on a feudal system where Daimyo holds supreme authority over
exactly.
nations, controlling budgets and appointing Kage, who had the militarized hidden leaf. Yeah, yeah, like and
Yeah,
all that
it
and
was.
all that works differently from each village too. Like the sand is different, the rain village is
Yeah,
different. All the villages are different too.
exactly. And you know what? That's and like he was saying, that actually it's an aspect of actual good world building if you've actually built a society that has some sort of politic to it, and you see it in all sorts of different things. You could and they lifted from this era of Japan to build something else. Like you kind of base things off of it, but it isn't modern day Japan. They're not sitting there crying about, oh my God, the fascist prime minister of Japan is, you know, deporting Muslims and no, it's used in a world building way as opposed to like I'm going to message about this thing that I believe in right now. And in many places it doesn't make any like inserting this shit doesn't make sense. Like the whole thing with the quote trans characters in quote in One Piece, like when Sanji was shipped off, like ended up on that island filled
Yeah,
with
but you would
with
take
them.
that as a
It was
yeah.
tongue in cheek. It was funny,
That
and
was
you know
meant to
what
be a joke
Sanji
because
didn't
he
like.
loves women
Yeah,
and he gets sent to
exactly.
live on a place full of men for like 2 years for a
Yeah,
time skip.
it was
Like,
a complete and utter joke, and it was tongue in cheek, and it wasn't. Oh my god, it's hateful and problematic. Like, no, it's Oda did it as a joke because it's funny for Sanji to be there. He wasn't like sitting here trying to preach some sort of message about it. And even the character who was helping Luffy at the time, it's like it was done in something of a tongue in cheek way. That whole character was tongue in cheek and funny, but fun and enjoyable and like whimsical and it's but it had nothing to do with the modern day, especially because those episodes are fuck what 20 years old. I don't even know when those were. They're a way. I mean, I've seen them somewhat recently, but they're still a ways back in the history of the show, given where the show's at right now. And it's like back when those aired, none of this was a concern. None of this was talked about, and nobody really cared.
mhm.
Like it was just a thing that existed as part of the weird world that we live in. But yeah, and again, it was done in a world building way. It wasn't done in a way to ham fist something in. And that is the problem with modern comics, movies,
Like, isn't
television
that
media,
one of the main
whatever.
reasons why people liked X-Men back in the day, comic book wise? Is because, or like you say, animated series wise, because you had the political undertones there, but it wasn't something that was so ham-fisted. Your brain could just easily
Yeah.
pick that up. So when you were discussing X-Men, you could see the political aspect there, but it wasn't the main aspect of why you liked the whatever was the comic books
Well,
or the
no,
animated shows or the
X-Men
movies.
was, yeah, well, X-Men kind of got co-opted by and was somewhat leaned into the idea of just they were always outcasts just trying to fit in the world, and they were an entire
Mhm.
society, a race of outcasts in a certain way. That came after. The X-Men was founded on the idea that Stan Lee was tired of creating origin stories for superheroes,
Yeah,
and he's just like, you know what? We're just gonna have mutants, and they just magically have these
yeah.
powers. We're not gonna explain it. We're not gonna say anything. They're just people that have powers because they do. Done. Like I just don't want to bother to have to create them. It's a bit of laziness on his part, but at the end of the day, it worked out, and that's fine. I mean, and some of and that's the thing. You have tons of X Men. I always decry the Grant Morrison era of X Men for dumping a shit ton of completely worthless, useless X Men characters on us that disappeared. But the cream of the crop of any of those kind of rose out, and they eventually got some sort of origin story or explanation, like Wolverine, which I don't think he should have ever had an origin story. I think and to say that he didn't, because he had an origin story. We knew that he didn't know his past. He was a wanderer, a vagrant, a Ronin, whatever you want to call him, a man wandering the world kind of alone. He was a perpetual loner. He was Canadian. He was had fucked up past of the government doing shit to him. That's all we ever needed. Removing the mystery of who he was and all the rest of this shit perpetually kind of fucked the character as far as not perpetually fucked him, but it was the beginning of the character being fucked up, and then they turned him into a cuck. Uh, you know, because that was the thing with the X-Men at the time. But yeah, it was, then they brought in the modern politic and everything else. But originally, like the characters who were interesting got some sort of worthwhile origin, and it was enough of it for you to need it. Like everybody in Giant Size X-Men, we basically know kind of where they came from. We know about Nightcrawler's history. We know about Colossus, Wolverine, Storm. We know each of them, and they had a compelling enough backstory that propelled them forward into more interesting stories until they started the era of just completely fucking the X-Men. I think the real like last straw of like we're just going to completely shit all over the X-Men was when they did the all new X-Men thing and they retconned a bunch of history by bringing the old X-Men, like the teenage X-Men, into the future. That was the fucking worst. It was fucking terrible.
And then because like people added in the whole political messaging to it when they kept reciting this stupid debunkable lie that the X-Men were a civil rights allegory, and and keep in mind, guys, in a lot of these interviews that people read from these creators, do people not detect any sarcasm? People take them very literally. Like, can you not, like, even when the interviewer puts in like ha ha, or they're laughing, or the person being interviewed laughs whenever these questions come through, people take these things as so literally. And it's like, there's an element of fun to like an interview too when they're both having a conversation. But that is the problem when you have like only written interviews that were only the thing back in the day. Like back in the day, if Stan Lee was on a video call saying these things, you would understand a lot more of the intention behind the words, because I'm glad media did and technology did improve to the point where you could have these conversations with someone more face to face, because just all these like interviews coming up where like people have used the one with Spider-Man where Stan Lee was like, well, anyone under the mask can be Spider-Man. Yeah, but Peter Parker is Spider-Man though. Yeah, what he means by that, it's not a literal thing. It's like, yes, when you think about Spider-Man, realistically, if Spider-Man were to be a thing, anyone could be Spider-Man, realistically, right? But that can't apply. Only one person would be that superhero. You just don't know who it is. It's not meant to be taken as like, well, anyone can be Spider-Man, as far as like just any person, whoever wants it can have it. It's like, no, it's like, people are taking things way too seriously with some of these things. Like, they're not understanding. I swear, reading comprehension that's died on people the last
Well,
30,
the other
40
thing
years.
is that like, yes, could anybody be Spider-Man? But like, one, do the fans want it, and have they told a compelling story that convinces anybody else that anybody else can actually be Spider-Man or Peter Parker? And no, they haven't. They haven't done it, and the sales show you that. Even the critical reviews show you that. Like, it was fine when you know, oh damn, I'm forgetting. Miles Morales lived in his own universe where the past Peter Parker died, and he picked up the mantle. There was kind of a good story there. There was kind of an earning of the name that happened in that universe. But in the normal universe that they moved Miles Morales into, Peter Parker was there. He never died, and they can't really kill him. Like, they don't have the will to do it because they still sell merch. They still need the name, and they know that people will just abandon the book. Like, in all honesty, like, and I know Lapsed keeps reading the book, and maybe he would read it after Miles Morales. But to me, like, if I was one of these staunch people who'd been collecting forever, the death of Peter Parker would be a great place to drop off of Amazing Spider-Man and stop collecting a continuous run. For those people who do it solely for that reason,
Yeah.
you can say, oh, well, I collected all of Peter Parker's run. Then they killed him, and I didn't need to read it anymore. I did the same thing when DC restarted their universe. I'm like, oh, fuck, you know what? I don't really need to, I don't care. Like, I liked the characters, but I cared about the characters, but I cared about them in the stories that they had. And now all those stories they're basically ended.
Because
So,
what I've
and
noticed
then I
when it
stopped
comes to
reading.
like, I've noticed this when it comes to legacy characters, DC, as far as all the problems they have, they've managed to create legacy characters that people actually attach themselves to and they actually like and enjoy more. A big one is the Green Lantern one, Hal Jordan and John
Yeah.
Stewart. John Stewart comes way after Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner and a lot of these other Green Lanterns to come out. People like them. So it's not that this idea can't work. For me, I just don't subscribe to this idea that it can't work. It can work. You're just not doing it and executing it in a meaningful manner that can attach people. So like Batman, right? People love Batman. They really love
Yeah.
Batman by the sales, but they also really love Nightwing because Nightwing also sells very well. Nightwing's had many ongoing series, many ongoing runs. Still currently has this ongoing run, which is going to be at like issue 130 very, very soon. We can use
I don't think
Wally
he's ever
West and
had his
Barry out.
series other than relaunching to sell a new number one. Like, I don't think Nightwing's not had an ongoing series
He's
for a
had
long
many
time.
omnibus. He's had
Yeah.
runs to the point where you can have
Like, what's
many
his legacy
omnibus
number
runs.
at, I wonder?
Oh, it probably has to be like the 600s at this point. Because Nightwing, as a character, has many omnibuses. They just released an omnibus for him last year with Tom Taylor's run, which I didn't buy yet, but I have to get it when it has a reprint coming up very, very soon. So it's not the fact that you can't do this concept. They're just doing it bad. Why is he? In my opinion, the reason why he doesn't sell very well is because he's just named Miles Morales. Like Nightwing, Nightwing is Dick Grayson, but he's Nightwing. He wanted to be his own thing when Batman fired him back when they had that argument, right? He wanted to be his own thing. People are forgetting there's a reason why that concept works. This character who's the sidekick wants to go do his own thing separately from the guy that put him into the spotlight. Miles Morales isn't like that. He has nothing like that.
Nightwing is DC's Spider-Man for all intents and purposes. He's more lighthearted. He's more fun. He's not weighed down by the baggage of the loss that Bruce experienced and the way Bruce's life kind of went afterwards in the direction that he took. Like, Dick had somebody there as kind of a father figure. He had Bruce, and while Bruce didn't have that, Bruce turned out very different as Batman. And thusly, like, what Bruce did, he actually, like, almost made sure that Dick didn't turn out like him. And Dick isn't. I mean, Dick's still a superhero. Dick is still, this amazing, talented detective and everything else, but he's not Batman. And he never will be. He doesn't want to be. I know that, like, when Batman was dead for a little while, they gave him the cowl, but it isn't him. I mean, if anything, like, Tim Drake would probably, before all of the recent fuckery, like actual Tim Drake, not current continuity Tim Drake, would have probably been a more heir apparent, I think, to being Batman, even though he isn't quite Bruce Wayne either. But he's more so than I think Dick is. But Dick Grayson is more like Spider-Man. He's whimsical, he's funny, he has a good time, he cracks jokes, and his comics are usually very acrobatic. Spider-Man is very there's a lot of allegory to be had between Spider-Man and Nightwing. And if you read Nightwing for a while, sometimes you'll even notice it. Like, you'll see kind of like, they're definitely they're cripping some things from Peter Parker here, and even his personal life is very much like Peter Parker. He's got this long-standing will they won't they with this beautiful red-headed woman. There's a lot of likeness between the two of them if you go through it. Now, that's how I've always kind of seen it. And Spider-Man is not fucking Batman. There's no crossover. I mean, there's some crossover between the two, but they're not the same guy. They're not going to be the same guy. Spider-Man couldn't be a Batman, and that's where I see kind of the difference there. And that's what makes it good, though. It's interesting. It's a different kind of take on that street level crime kind of
the
thing.
whole mantle thing too. Like, Nightwing is its own thing. He's not trying to be Batman. These aren't hard concepts to understand for people, right? And people say, but there's multiple Flashes and Green Lanterns. It's been established for many years that there is multiple, like, that's not a new thing. There was multiple Green Lanterns.
Well, Green Lanterns, yes. The Flash thing, I think, is literally just laziness. You could give all of these speedsters different names, and most of them had them. You had Jesse Quick, you had Max Mercury. Oh God, who else was there? There's a couple
There's
other
Jay
speedsters.
Garrick, right?
Yeah, well, Jay Garrick is Matt. Well, yeah, there's Jay Garrick. He was still the Flash, but they didn't call him that. Like, he was the old Golden Age Flash. And then you had Barry Allen, and you had Wally West, and I thought they completely did Wally West dirty with that thing where he was the murder. What the hell was that?
It was here. Oh shit! Was it Heroes in Crisis with Tom King?
Something that terrible story arc where he ended up being like the bad guy, but then they retconned all of that really quickly.
Oh God! Like, I don't get why people don't understand.
I don't read Flash right now.
I don't get why people don't really understand these things, and because people will say, "But we have multiple Green Lanterns. Why can we have multiple Spider-Man?" You can have multiple Spider-Man. Actually, Spider-Man 20. I wonder how people don't even understand this. Though. That's why you know they don't read shit. Literally, there's Spider-Man 2099. Miguel Ojeda.
Yeah, there's
He
different
stood out.
there's different because they're all in different universes, and the reason there's more than one Green Lantern is because Green Lantern was always set up to be a police force. It was not set up to be a single person. The
Yeah.
original one, yes, but he's like the Golden Age Green Lantern, and that was all like magic or some shit. Like it wasn't even this Green Lantern per se.
Yeah.
And there actually, it sounds like, and I might start picking up the floppies maybe because it sounds like they're bringing Kyle Rayner back in issue 33 of Green Lantern, which I should see when that's coming out. I'm gonna check League of Comics Geeks. I am kind of like that was always my Green Lantern, so it's kind of interesting to see that they're bringing him back as the focal point of the story, and they're bringing him back to
I did
Earth.
hear about that. Jeremy Adams.
Yeah.
I heard he was going to bring him back. That's crazy. That's huge, honestly.
That it's pretty cool,
Lord.
man. Like when does that come out? Where's League of Comic Geeks? I'll pull that up.
Issue
and see.
31 just came out, I think, this week or last week or whatever.
Oh, so it's like in March or whatever. Okay, so
yeah,
cool. So nothing yet, but yeah, it's
or
you know,
let's use
the-
or even
it's interesting to see.
X23. X23 wasn't even made comic book wise. X23 was made for the show X-Men Evolutions, and they
And they
can't even
brought her in,
capitalize on her. And they did. Then they brought her into the books. They didn't capitalize on that at all.
They did for a minute. They did for a minute. And yeah, I agree with Laps. Flash is ass at the moment. If you want good Flash, I will. Like some of the best Flash you can still find on the shelf anywhere that is going to be entertaining. Just go pick this up somewhere, guys. Grant Morrison and Mark Miller's Flash run. A worthwhile trade. $17.
They gave that
You
a
have a Flash
hardcover
itch, go.
last year. That got a hardcover, a deluxe hardcover. Man, cover looks beautiful on that thing. Good lord, I've heard good things about that story.
Yeah.
I have. You know, we know
that
you're a
arc was
huge fan of
great.
Mark Waid. You know you're a huge fan of Mark Waid. You got to pick up his Flash run.
He had some interesting stuff that he did with the Wally West Flash. Like it's okay. It's not bad. It's better than what's going on now. I can give him that much. But yeah, like Lap said, 2 more months for Kyle. So I'm hoping that I'll have some extra money then. I'll probably pick that up because I do kind of want to see it. I may have to see some back issues to see how they bring him in.
I heard this Flash run was getting canceled. That's what I heard a while ago. It was gonna be canceled at like issue 27. But they might have changed their minds. I don't remember. That's what I've heard. Like
I would
rumors or whatever.
Yeah, there were some really low lows, like Lap said here. Wade's Flash is okay. Lap's Comic Fan and I were talking about this the other day. If they really wanted to like,
whoa, hold on.
If they really
talk to that Cloud Chaser,
yeah,
I didn't agree to. I didn't agree to this.
Well, you were out horseback riding. We saw the video.
I was having sex with like women.
No, you were riding a bucking bronco. I saw the video. I'll have to bring it up here. Let me see if I can find it on next. We were talking about this, and it was like, if they really wanted to give us a Flash story that could be very interesting, I think there's only one creator right now who probably has the chops, and it would be Jonathan Hickman. I would love to see Hickman's take on Flash. He's very good with scientific topics, and I think he would do something very interesting with the Flash power set. And if they really wanted to get people interested in the Flash right now, if they wanted to sell books, they would do like they're doing in Green Lantern here for a minute and give us a Flash to the early 90s and bring back Wally West as the primary occupant of the story in the Flash, and like refocus in on Wally for a little while. Like Wally and Kyle actually had some good adventures together as well, like when they would do these kind of nostalgic like Flash Green Lantern team ups. That would get me, dude. If you brought in Hickman and said like, hey, here's Wally West and do whatever with him, I would probably pick that up too. That would be interesting. Like I think there could be a really good a good set of stories to come out of that, depending on how long they could keep Hickman around for.
I've also noticed this background you have of this comic book that's coming along, which is obviously going to be the worst written comic book of all time. It's going to only have one backer. It'll be the first indie comic book in history to have one single backer.
What are you talking about? This is coming out from Rizmaster Productions, bro. This is your comic book. This is third time's the clearance. It's gonna be. People are not ready for what third time's the clearance. How good it's gonna be.
For me, if I were to ever write something, it wouldn't be in a disgusting abomination propaganda hit piece comic book like that. I'm someone of
I know what you're talking
clarity.
about.
I'm someone of I'm someone of
Laps is already
clarity.
backing it, and so am I. Like, we're already here. There's already 2 backers.
There's 2 backers. All right, well, it'll be the first indie comic book of all time to have 2 backers.
I'm just telling you, I
Uh,
think it would be great.
hey, I
It's
wouldn't
gonna be
back
good,
that
man. It's gonna be
myself
good.
because
People will love it when it drops.
I wouldn't back that myself personally. I have standards,
Mhm.
but it's one of those things where if I can't write dialogue. If I wrote dialogue, that would be travesty because my
You're
brain.
already writing the dialogue. WZ's got the
I
clips for it. It's already here. It's already
WZ.
here. Like, we already have this.
So someone said he posted a video on that propaganda YouTube channel he has. I'm like,
I gotta go check it. If there's a new video, I must not have I
I
must
don't
have
think
missed it. So we
so.
gotta get there.
He said he was gonna clip something from last night's show, but I don't think he ended up doing that at all. There's no way. Yeah, he uploaded a
Oh
month
yeah.
ago talking about
Oh,
Equest
yeah.
train.
Yeah, we gotta get there. Oh yeah. Well, this is right up there with the eQuest train. I mean, I just shared a video that we should put up for everybody to see your interest in eQuest train.
Oh
This is
my
where it comes
god.
from, guys. In case you guys didn't know that. So MSK has been keeping things from us. This is why, like, sometimes he doesn't make shows or he misses. This is what he's been doing, guys. Like, when he's not here, this is him.
This is crazy.
Who knew? MSK thought he's gonna keep this secret from us. This is what he's out there doing. Hell yeah!
God.
Can't believe I didn't. When somebody posted, I'm like, oh shit, they found MSK. That's what he's been doing.
I no, because like usually I'm hanging around with like, OnlyFans and Instagram models on their
Well,
streams.
they like guys who ride horseback. That's how. I mean, maybe some of this makes sense. Is that where you
Oh
met Jim?
no.
Was it at the
I'm
rodeo?
usually hanging around with women, actually.
So he met Jim at the rodeo, guys. I mean, this all makes more sense now. So
Good lord. I want her to sit on. Oh my god. Yeah, uh I
oh,
I
that's gonna be
can't
sick.
I can't pronounce her name, but it's Aza Sophie. She wanted to sit on my face, actually.
I don't know anything about that, but
She wanted to sit on my face, guys. I couldn't do it, you know.
yeah, you don't have to write MSK. Your words have been writing the comic for years, and with WZ's help, we're gonna have some great stuff. I can't wait to do the horseback riding issue. That page is gonna be awesome.
Good lord. This is not going to happen. This is a comic book where it's just never going to see the light of day, and I vehemently reject this propaganda machine you guys are pushing. I'll make a separate Twitter account
It's in the
called
works, guys. It is in the works.
What WZ could do for me. This is the thing that I won't pay him for, but he could do it as far as like slave labor. Do you know how you have those accounts called like the accounts where they post the clips on Twitter and they call them like the updates? It'll be like big influencer updates or whatever, right? WZ can make
Hmm.
a Twitter account called MSK Updates and he posts clips from the shows straight to Twitter. That's what he could do. Now I
I
won't
mean,
pay
well,
you
that's
for
what he
that.
does do. There's plenty of clips he's put
Yeah,
up.
but
They're
doing that on
great clips. What are you
YouTube,
talking about?
yeah, but just doing that on YouTube isn't going to do anything. You need to post them in the biggest social media app in human history on Twitter. He needs to create a Twitter account and post live clips from the show on there, and that'll
They're
get
on
traction.
YouTube. You can see them on YouTube. We share them on YouTube every now and again. They get out. Like,
You don't need
we
though.
share
You
them
don't
on
need to do
X
that.
too. We share them on X too. They're great.
Oh
Plenty of
god.
great clips. Plenty of great clips.
But and before we get to the topic, I will say I'm actually glad people say these things because it you have these really retarded fucking dumb people who think they're so smart, but they're not. They're actually intellectually so stupid. I can lap circles around these people. They're always, but you're only
That's
just saying
saying
it because you
something.
live in you. I mean, you're just a guy that lives with his mom and she pays for your cell phone bill and you live on your couch. You don't know what you're talking about. Guy who you idolize says the same thing I do. Well, he can say it because he's in this position. Oh my god, literally, guys. If I didn't like someone and they said something that I agreed with, even if I don't like them, I could admit they said something that I agree with, right? I don't get this where people, if they don't like someone to the point where even if they said something they did agree with, they're still going to say they don't agree
Yeah.
because it's someone they don't like. Like, I don't like people sometimes, but if someone said something that I agreed with, I could agree with you, right? But it shouldn't be that way. There's liberal people that say some random things that I could kind of agree with to a certain extent, even if I don't like that person, right? But
Yeah, I
just,
say that I can even say that Mark Waid has written a good comic before, and I think he's a fucking retard. But
people are so intellectually stupid that I pride myself on becoming so smart that my brain ingests so much information that you guys can't even possibly comprehend how smart I actually am. It's utterly insane at this point, you know? Oh God.
I
Like,
agree with
hey,
that statement, Gray.
it's all part of having a conversation, like I don't even like how people preface their conversations with I don't agree with everything this person says, because it's like it's self-explanatory. You don't agree with everything someone says. That should be a self-explanatory thing. I should need to explain it to you. Your brain, from its own processing power, could go, you know what? This is the thing. But no, average people are just borderline so fucking stupid
See,
that
that's
just
like
they can't.
it's funny, like I can agree that Jim Lee should have something to say, but he's out here, instead of talking about where Hush 2 his last few issues are, he's out here commenting in order to cover for himself. He's to wrangle us into the topic here. He's actually out here, blowing smoke about something that we've all known for what, at least a decade. Yes,
Way longer
the
than that,
manga,
yeah.
the manga market, the Japanese market, absolutely destroys the American market when it comes to sales.
Oh
Because, and
God.
this is the
Before we do that, before we get into the topic, we found Savage Dad. We finally found. No, we
right here.
finally found Lapsed. We found him, guys. He doesn't work for a government agency. None of that stuff. We found Lapsed, guys. We found him. Lapsed. Lapsed. We found you.
What is this?
Lapsed. What are you doing?
I thought he was
working.
old Batman.
We found him. He shaved his beard. Now he's just Batman protesting at some city council. Oh my
Laps
God.
doesn't have a beard. He's got 5 o'clock shadow.
Oh my God. Oh, fuck me.
I thought he was old
shit.
racist Batman, not gay Batman. Also, that gay Batman just looked like normal Batman. He didn't look gay at all. Where's his rainbow cape? That's not gay Batman. Gay Batman has a rainbow cape. I've seen it.
God,
it was in the comics.
Me. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Laps. Nope. It's not true, man. We found you. We found your other profession. It's okay, man. It's okay. Your secret is safe with me. Oh God. All right. I'm gonna get to the topic in just a moment. Holy shit. Oh my God. But no. I've been having sex with a lot of
gas
women.
Station wings kicking in.
No, not the 7-Eleven
from
ones.
Pilot, right? I didn't say
yeah.
7-Eleven. The Pilot now.
The Pilot ones are
gas station.
Pilot ones are way better. The 7-Eleven ones are too spicy. The original ones are too hot for my mouth. Maybe it's because I'm heterosexual, but it's just when I put it in my mouth, it just burns.
I got nothing.
Oh
for that.
God.
Nothing about it. I don't.
Oh goodness.
Have anything for
that one.
Nope,
my goodness.
Nope.
If I was Batman, you guys would literally know. Like, there's no hiding a secret identity in that. I literally couldn't be Batman, literally because you could.
Wait, I thought you were Black Man.
Oh shit. Oh God, fuck me. Fuck, Jesus Christ, dude. Holy fucking shit. So, also, because I know people are gonna watch this episode back on the replay because the shows have incredible watch hours, and I know you guys rewatch the shows if you don't watch them live. When I'm gonna talk about this topic, I've made videos about this on my comic channel. I made one solo by myself months ago.
Dude, we were talking about this 6 fucking months ago, and it hasn't changed.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I preference these things because I know retards are gonna retard constantly. I could bring up everything. I could. I really could bring up everything. But there's some things that I'm not going to bring up only simply because, well, I might just forget, and I'll be honest here, you probably know them anyway. It's going to bring up the main core things, actually. Oh, goodness. Even if I was being like Captain America, like Sam Wilson Captain America, you would literally know it's me. Because, well, being buff and muscular kind of has its perks, Oh, God. Also tonight, let me see who is going to be on the show later on tonight. I think, okay, so I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel later in the day, and then I'm also having a one-on-one with a new guy. So, I think that's
a one-on-one. You and a new guy are going one-on-one, huh?
One-on-one.
What does Jim think about that?
Oh, God. No, I'm not gay at all. All right, so let's get into this.
There wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of like conviction behind that. I'm not gay at all.
I'm not gay. I have sex with women.
Right.
Oh, God. So, and also when we do this topic, I'm gonna also preference this too. Most people are talking about Shonen Jump. Sure. Even if you want to use that as an argument, we can use that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the context of it. It literally doesn't at all. Like, people say, but you're only talking about the big ones. But that's the same shit. Marvel and DC are the big ones. That makes no difference. It changes nothing.
Yeah.
Are you stupid? You only talk about the biggest ones. You do too. You're only about Marvel and DC, which are the biggest ones. I don't even know how that's even an argument. Are you literally so illiterate? Your fucking mom should have swallowed you. Like, you're stupid. What the fuck? People always say I'm angry and mean. I can't talk to people. You're dumb. You're stupid. That's why I choose to be a hermit by myself, living as lavishly as I do. No homo. No homo. No homo at all. Purely no homo in that. I am straight. I am straight as a highway. I'm like, ugh. And there's no curves in highways.
Highways aren't all straight.
That's because they're roads. They curve. They have to. That's not. No. Okay. So purposefully, I could use that in an argument and be like, okay, so one day, I'm going after like white women. Next day, I want my Asian queens. The next day, I want my Hispanic chikorita queens. The other day, I don't want me a dirty Indian. I'm good. But just saying, I will never want a chocolate anything. That's holy fuck. All right. Are you guys ready for Top G to give you guys some words of wisdom? Some words of wisdom?
Cheese wisdom.
Oh, God. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Well, you guys come here for entertainment and quality, so that's kind of what I'm supposed to do for you, actually.
I mean, one of those, yes, absolutely. They're here for it.
Okay. Let's do this. Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Jim Lee admits the comic book industry is failing. So on my comic book YouTube channel that you guys are watching this video on, I have did several videos talking about the comic book industry, actually. And you guys pretty much know how I feel about the whole comic books versus manga discussion, right? So my biggest problem when it comes to all this discourse is you have really, really, really retarded people making arguments that are similar to what they're talking about, but they don't actually understand the true implications of what they're saying, right? So the argument will usually go like this. When people talk about manga, they're only talking about Shonen Jump, like Dragon Ball, Bleach, One Piece, Naruto. While in the same vein, not understanding when you're bringing up that stupid argument, you're bringing up the only two companies that you buy comics for, Marvel and DC. So this notion that we're only talking about the big ones. You're talking about the big ones too, you absolute dumb, retarded, illiterate fucking retard. So let's just put that out of there. We're only going to be talking about the big ones. Obviously, they have the biggest impact on this stuff. That's why they're the most talked about. Now, obviously, there are other, publishers when it comes to manga and comic books. That's not to say that they don't exist, right? But when you're talking about stuff that impacts on a massive scale, you would only be talking about Marvel and DC and the biggest Shonen Jump ones. Obviously,
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock. You stupid. These things actually massively have an impact because it's the way that people shape their opinions on them. Outside of that. So, I know this also came out recently after that ICV2 chart came up with DC just dominating Marvel. And yes, DC has been dominating Marvel. Now, I want you guys to really contextually understand what I'm going to bring up here. Okay, understand this. DC has their absolute universe killing it. Batman, regular Batman, and absolute Batman's also killing it, right? Okay, so that means the DC universe, as far as DC Comics, only has like what 3 things that are the biggest sellers, right? I mean, DC can only really put out Batman books that'll sell very well. Like it's just Batman, right? And absolute Batman, which are 2 separate things. Then you have the absolute universe. So what? DC Comics is basically kind of what? I'm gonna say galvanize their main universe with that, but it feels like people just only want the absolute universe stuff and absolute Batman and just regular Batman stuff. So is that a good sign for DC Comics where only like these 3 main things people want? No, that's bad. It's only being propped up by these 3 things. If these 3 things ever start faltering, that's not good at all, actually. Marvel is a different boat. Marvel is so damn retarded. They galvanized amazing, like Spider-Man, right? You have Spider-Man that they relaunched for no reason. Amazing Spider-Man, literally,
all of those relaunches.
Amazing Spider-Man relaunched
I
for no reason after Zeb
I
Wells.
defy.
Remember when we did that video and we said, why are they relaunching something that's never out of the top 10? Because, guys, on that ICV2 chart, if you were to take it literally, Amazing Spider-Man doesn't drop out of the top 10. It's like a top 1 to 10 selling book, obviously, right? Right? Why are they relaunching it with a number 1? You would be relaunching it for no reason other than to be in the same spot you were already in. So Marvel went and shitted on their biggest property for no reason other than we just want a new number 1.
I'll tell you this though, I would say that it is relaunching any book with a new number 1 is indefensible. There's no reason it's ever been done that makes any sense at all. You could try to argue that maybe once upon a time, a decade ago, the new number 1s sold more. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the case now. The new Spider-Man number 1, there's plenty of it sitting on the fucking shelf at the comic book shop. Nobody, it doesn't mean anything anymore because they're no longer. They're just an overprinted commodity. I was actually having a conversation with the guys at the comic shop and some people at a used bookstore recently as I was looking to sell some books or if I needed to sell some books. For the most part, like everything current day is so overprinted. Like the idea that your collection, if your collection started in the late 90s and goes through today, it's worth about 50 cents an inch at most bookstores. So the idea that it resells for much of anything, like, maybe there's certain things here and there. Like there was a guy in there the other day. He came in, he was trying to sell a bunch of copies of that he had of Transformers number 1, and he had like a couple variant issues of it and everything else. He was like, well, they're selling online. I'm just kind of overhearing him try to sell it, and like they pretty much just shot him down. They're like, yeah, it's they may sell on eBay for that much, but we really we can't move them at those price points.
Yes.
So and maybe it was some negotiation, but at the end of the day, he ended up not really selling them to him because they just were like they weren't terribly interested. In the comic book shop is like the main place you're going to be able to move it, but nobody's paying for back issues like that anymore, though.
Yeah,
you want to say the trades are so prolific and they're everywhere. And the book was overprinted. Like for a while, if you wanted a first printing of the first issue, you were going to pay that much. But for the most part, if anybody wants a first printing of the first issue, they just want to read the story. And there's an upper limit where there's people going to pay for that, and then it's going to fall off, or it's just going to be so hard to sell that yes, maybe it would sell someday on eBay. but you're going to have it on eBay for 6 months, or the comic shop's going to have it sitting up on a wall for
Yeah,
months on
it's just for
end.
people to look at. Like no
And
one's
maybe it
buying
moves,
it.
maybe it don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're just not going to be able to make money on it today. And right now, comic book shops need money in hand today, not
right.
tomorrow or 6 months from now.
Like
So,
the other thing to bring up with that, as
yeah,
far as that legacy numbering you're talking about, guys, I'm about to really understand. People like that. Do you want to know why they like that? Because you follow a book. It could be a book series, anything. You follow it from number one all the way to where it's currently at, right? You get some sense of like, hey, I've invested my time in this. I want to get the next one. And then if someone wanted to get into the series, you could just say, hey, start at this point, and then you just go from there. Manga doesn't have what Western comics have. Manga starts in chapter 1 and they go to wherever they're going to end off at, whatever chapter number. And if you actually want to start it, you could just start it there. So when people
yeah.
bring up that like, oh, well, it's just a volume 1, yeah, but like the problem here with that is that's a legitimate strategy. So like so for a comic book shop, okay, do you know that Berserker volume 1 hardcover that people have? So let's say this.
Yeah.
Let's say you go into a shop. What is easier to tell someone? Volume 1 of something, or there's a new run of this character and you can just pick it up and go from there. Just what's easier on the
But
average
and that's the
person?
thing, you really can't though. That's the thing. None of these number ones are like, it isn't starting over. It's just starting at a point where they're starting a new story. But all of that story in canon still exists, and eventually in that
Yeah,
story by issue 5, you're going to run into something that happened in issue 137 where they stopped the old run and then they started the new run. It's like, oh fuck it,
yeah,
just leave it numbered. It's so
yeah.
annoying. Like, and I did look that up. Nightwing is actually at legacy number 300. Apparently, they're going to do the 300th issue. But yeah, Nightwing's been going on for a while. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he's
Like
been continuous the whole time. And why that?
Uncanny X-Men or X-Men, that should be almost at like I'm just guessing like 800, 900, some shit like that. But you get all of these different new number 1 starting, and it becomes confusing because like you said, it's the same shit. All that still happened. It's just numbered differently. And it's numbered
Yeah,
differently for no reason. It's because you guys want to know why it's numbered for no actual legitimate reason. There's a reason why trades exist. Trades, omnibuses, or collected editions could easily just map all that stuff together. So like if you had it from like you said, issue 1 through 400. Well, if you have
yeah,
trades, epic collections, DC's finest, or whatever form of collected edition you prefer, compendiums, right? It could just map all that together for you very easily. So this
yeah.
whole the book needs to restart at number 1 is stupid and silly because you have
And they
collected
put so much
editions
of
that
it.
could just number it as volume 1, 2, and 3 anyway, you know?
Yeah, and even the first print runs, like back in the day, number ones were worth something because all comic book print runs were kind of limited. But since the 90s, since like the shit with Spawn number one and some of the X-Men issues, like when that shit hit, like they just started printing they printed them insanely. There's so much of them. They're such a commodity that there really isn't like the real worth to it is maybe in a whole story arc and other things. And you'll see it at comic shops where they put whole story arcs together and they probably get a little bit of an uptick and it lets them pull out an entire
Yeah.
pile of back issues, say boom, here's this whole arc of this writer's arc on the story. And like even in the collected editions, like Marvel did that with the Deadpool collection with Joe Kelly, and you'll see other writers that have that.
Yeah, you have
That's
that
interesting
thing.
because it
They
gives
have like
somebody
the,
that
the
whole
complete
story.
collection. Yeah, you have that thing where they have like the complete collection books and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like or we'll use like we'll use the Batman run that started with Tom King, right? So if you go by trade
Nobody wants that.
versions of, well, no, but if you go by numbering of that, if you go by the trade versions, it'll say like Batman Volume 4. So just use that as a concept, people. You could just do this. They could just use the numbering of where the trades are at to perfectly put people where they want to go. You don't have to restart the ongoing series constantly. It makes no sense to do that. That's why you have
Yeah,
omnibuses. That's why you have compendiums. That's why you have epic collections. That's why you have compact comics. Any of these versions, those are
yeah.
supposed to keep people there for like, okay, you want to start here? Just start at this point
See,
and then pick up later from where you want to keep going if you want to start it off. It's just that simple.
and
But
you
they don't
don't
do
see
that.
them do that. You don't see them do that in manga and Japanese comics. That's one of the funny things too, is that American comics today are very much like Japanese comics. Those things don't go out of print. You can still go buy volume one of One Piece off the shelf somewhere. They just keep
Mhm.
fucking printing it because people keep buying it and they want people to buy the manga. And that, it's So you just go get that. It's out there somewhere. Number one of Naruto is still on a Barnes and Noble bookshelf because they just keep printing it. Today,
Mhm.
they just keep printing it. They print so much of it that the comic book American comics today have no different like those manga are usually not worth anything unless maybe you find like the first printing of the first volume of One Piece
That'll
somewhere that
have
somebody
cum
put away.
stains on it.
That might be worth something, but it have to be something that's so big and so popular. It has a huge fan base
Mhm.
to pull from, and somebody who's very interested in have collecting that thing. And I don't even know if you can tell a manga's first. I don't know if they denote which printing of the manga that it was, but for the most part, like used manga is not worth very much. And a lot of places, even used bookstores, won't take it off your hands. They don't even
Yeah.
want it. You have to go donate it to a Goodwill or something. Like it's just
Yeah, and keep
not
in
going
mind, I
anywhere.
want people to understand because that's more of a collective thing. For me, like I don't. People have asked me, I don't have any graded books. I just don't really find the appeal in that. Now, if you do, more power to you. I just don't. I don't really care. You know, like it's one of those things that you just said earlier with like comic industry getting into this bad spot. A person is going to a shop trying to offload like number one first appearance of something, and they're getting told the reality that yeah, people online make impulsive buys for stupid stuff like that, but comic shops, I would imagine, any shop that I've went into that have those slabbed, they don't move that shit. That shit's
Too
still
expensive.
there. And if
Yeah,
you go back next week to the same shop, they're still have the same things up there. No one's buying that stuff. I feel like all that is, I don't say vanity is the wrong word, but like I think it's more
it's
along the lines of
it's
it's
decoration
just
in
kind
the
of like
shop.
yeah, it just looks cool to show off. Like there's no legitimate
Yeah,
big buying people for that. Like the
yeah.
only
I
books
mean,
that
there's
I've
some
seen that
things that
sold
they
like
have.
that, the only books that I've seen that sell like that is Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man number one, first appearance of Punisher, first appearance of Deadpool,
There
stuff
are
like
key
that.
things out there. Yes, there are key
Yeah,
things that people will see, and they'll put them up on the shelf. They'll still probably sit there forever, but it's like an impulse
yeah,
buy. It's one of these things that, like, even the shop doesn't expect to move it. The shop expects to move the shit they put on the shelves, and that's what's hurting them more. Is that the shit that they have to buy from Diamond and put on their bookshelves? If that stuff doesn't move, that's the big blow to them, because they're not buying new shit. All the shit they came into, they opened the store with this stuff. They're still offloading things, and maybe at some point they buy a collection, but it's going to usually be really targeted, and it's if they need it. And I guarantee you, most comic book shops today, they have more inventory than they can do anything with.
yeah.
Like it's just there. The tons and
Oh,
tons of inventory of the shit that didn't sell, and then they end up having to
and I
take
will
a
say
loss on
this.
it.
Also, when we look at what Jim Lee's going to say here in just a moment here, I want also people to point out and understand this too. Let's use, because people always talk about manga and collected editions. Okay, so a manga 3-in-1 where you can get the 3 volumes of a series in one book. It's just an omnibus format for manga. That's pretty much what it is. That's what a 3-in-1 is, right? You can go
Yeah,
to your local Walmart right now. Let's say you want to get into One Piece. I'm talking price range. I'm talking about content. I'm not talking about what's in the shows. I'm talking about purely a price point of view, right? Because I know Aldi's, not Aldi's nuts that was in my wife's mouth last night, not that. Aldi's, that one place that sells the omnibuses on clearance or whatever, those sell, I imagine they're going to sell them at MSRP, like what, 80, $90, right? Okay, so you look at an $80 to $90 price point omnibus, right? Go into your Walmart, you could pick up One Piece 3-in-1 for about $12. Okay. What do you think the average parent, middle class parent, is going to pick up for their kid? Just hypothetically, on a price point perspective, you get an omnibus that's what, 300 pages, $12. An omnibus for a character's run that could be 400 pages for $80. Now, if you like the other one more, it's not about liking. It's not about that. It's not about preference. It's about what is the best price point for that parent. It's obviously the other one.
well,
It's
what's the
$12.
ease of access as well? Like Lap says it right here in the chat. And this is the thing that used to be the case at American grocery stores when comics were still kind of on the rise. Even in the mid '90s, comic books still had a fandom growing. It still had people interested, and it had kids getting involved, kids getting interested because they were at every grocery store. You go to a grocery store, even if it was just an end cap next to the fucking impulse section at the cash register, you'd see a little rack there with a few comic books in it. Or certain grocery stores would be an end cap. They had nothing else to put there. They had a comic book and magazine rack. Like it was even in with the magazine. Even magazine racks are gone now, dude. Like most of the grocery stores by me
Mhm.
nixed them. But yeah, like
Yeah.
manga, you'll find that at Walmart, no problem. You're out at Walmart with your kids, they'll see a Naruto or something else that they saw some other
Dude, I've
kid
seen
have in their backpack at
Blue
school.
Lock.
You're gonna
I
grab it.
actually bought them. You'll see Blue Lock. You'll see solo leveling books. You'll see My
Yeah,
Hero. You'll see.
and see
Oh,
these
you,
things.
you will see these things,
This is the problem, and
and
this
that's
is,
why
I
the
mean,
DC
maybe Jim Lee
Compact
touches on
Comics.
this.
And that's why the DC Compact Comics sold well. Like it's so weird how Jim Lee
I don't even see
understands
them though.
that,
That's the thing.
but they
I don't see those at Walmart. It's crazy. They should
they're
have
actually.
them at Walmart.
I've heard they're at Target. I've heard Target has some.
Okay.
We don't have a Target in my area,
Either
but
way, yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
gotta go
one
to
of those
Target
things where
after this
there's a
actually.
reason why Marvel ended up copying what DC did because it makes perfect sense. You sell a character's completed run for a story arc at a cheap price point they can get into. Barrier of entry
Yeah,
for price point is a major thing when you're trying to get someone into a hobby because not everyone's going to be like me, you, or Lapsed or a lot of the people where we buy this stuff and it's like we just buy a lot of it. Some people just kind of want to. It's what's that saying about when you dip your feet in the pool? It's you're just testing the water. Some people just
you're testing the water show.
yeah, some people just want to test the waters. They don't want to spend a lot of money up front. Well, that's why a compact comic would make perfect sense. It's only $12. If you don't like that, no harm, no foul. It's $12. That means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But that's why
Yeah.
the price point matters a lot because it goes to someone $80 for an omnibus. Fuck. God damn. Yeah, no.
No,
That
yeah,
might just turn people off.
buying that. That isn't for the unindoctrinated already. That's for that's for people who are already
Yeah.
fans, and you're looking that to add that other thing. But this is the thing, and maybe Jim Lee gets to this. The problem that modern comic books and American comics have today is kids don't care. Kids aren't introduced. Kids didn't see it because their parents stopped caring. I stopped caring. I mean, my kids. There's some comics, but they don't care about most of this crap behind me. They don't want to read it. They like Sonic, but they barely read that. They barely pick up the books because it's not there. It's not interesting. Like if they saw Sonic on the shelf at the fucking Walmart while we were shopping, they would probably want it more. I deliver this to them, so
I'll
it's
probably
less
I'll
interesting.
say
But
this right now.
the other
Your
kids would
kids
see
would
it
be
too.
more interested in a Sonic toy than a comic book, right?
Oh yeah,
If they saw a
absolutely. They
Sonic
love the Sonic
action
toys.
figure, they would probably want that
Yeah,
more.
that
You know?
I've got plenty of Sonic action figures around here, but that's the thing. It's just not as interesting because it isn't anywhere for kids to see it. They go to and that's the thing. Nothing is out there for kids anymore, dude. You take your if
Yeah.
your kids go to the grocery store, the closest thing they're going to see to something maybe interesting for them is a Hot Wheels end cap, and that's at least a good distraction. And like when I was when my kids were very little, especially my first son, like in order to get him to like make it through a shopping trip when he was like 1 or 2 years old. It was just like I'd spend 50 cents on a Hot Wheels and be like, here you go. I've got a ton of Hot Wheels now, but it's like here's a Hot Wheel. But he would hold on to it and he had a thing that garnered his interest.
I had
It was
Hot Wheels
interesting
last
to
night.
him.
I had Hot Wheels last night when I had sex with my wife. She was like, "Beat that." Oh God.
Holy shit.
I don't think that's the case either. But like, so it's something that parents can give their kids. Be like, hey, here's this look at it.
Mm,
It's got a Superman or Spider-Man, so it's
mm,
something very interesting to them. And that, I mean, to DC's mild credit, they have
yeah.
in certain instances put different back issues polybagged in like Dollar
Yeah.
Tree. The first place I saw them was a Circle K by me, which is a convenience store for those of you not in the Southwest.
Yeah. This is the thing too. Kids, and this is for me too. So I'm not singling anybody out. When you're in school, reading is boring. So like our
Dude, I mean,
culture looks
that was what was hard
down
for
on
me.
reading. Yeah. Yeah.
I only became more prolific at reading when I actually found comic books that I found interesting and I started getting into it. And that's what I read. I mean, I can
Mhm.
read anything else, but I wasn't a very competent reader until I found something that was actually engaging. I'll read other things. I've got lots of other things to read, but it was because I found comic books interesting to read. And that's the problem with it today is most of the stuff, dude, laps, they don't even barely read at school anymore, dude. It's all on a fucking Chromebook. They don't even have books anymore, man. It's all a web page now. But which is
Attention spans
sad.
are horrible. Like attention spans are so bad. If it's not a
Oh,
TikTok,
yeah.
if it's not an Instagram reel or a Facebook reel or a fucking TikTok or
Yeah,
YouTube short,
exactly.
I don't want none of that's crazy.
Well,
What happened to people?
that's exactly. Well, that's why I go on my phone and like I block my Xbox. so they can't just come on it and get home, and I make them read their comic books. Like my youngest has been reading his or not reading his, but my wife has been reading like Harry Potter to him to find that it's interesting. Now he wants to watch the movie once the story's
Well,
done,
Harry
and he
Potter
gets
is.
frustrated
I
if
agree.
he's
I agree with yourself. Harry Potter is for fucking losers. Like if you read Harry Potter, you kind of are a loser. It's literally for nerds.
it's for dude, it's for kids and nerds. Yes, exactly. But that's he likes to read that before bed. So we've been reading that, and he gets interested in that. But he can see that reading can be interesting, or listening to a story can be interesting. But you got to find something that's actually fucking interesting. Like most
Yeah.
things are not
Oh,
interesting.
and another main thing that people really, I want to make sure I hammer this in before I go over what we're gonna read in the video. Understand this, people. Manga has a single author, artist, and team behind him. Okay, and that person's vision, whether good or bad, highs and lows, is expanded throughout the entirety of the anime and manga until it starts and until it's over. Comic books have never been like that. Comic books originally started with very few people, and now throughout these many years and decades of having them around, you've had hundreds and hundreds of people's takes on all these characters. Now, I will say both can offer different perspectives. I like the manga way, but I like when someone can go like, okay, I want to have my chance at this character. I'm not saying both perspectives are inherently wrong. It's just more easier to understand what happens with one versus the other, right? Because what is better to follow? One single vision of a character versus 90 different versions of people's visions of a character. I'm not saying the other one is wrong, because there could be some good to that, right? But it's just kind of the way things are, based off of how the mediums have evolved. Another thing too, last thing I'll bring up is when people, and this is actually not like against manga, but this is more of a manga point. When people say that manga is not political or it has no political messaging, I know you're a tourist. I know you don't read the manga. I know you don't watch anime. You don't have to read the manga to know that, actually. If you look at me straight in my face and you tell me Fullmetal Alchemist has no political messaging in it, we don't need to be talking, because you're an idiot. All right. And I'm not saying on the nose politics, but this lie that people say manga has no political messaging to it. What's Gundam? What's Detective Conan? What's One Piece? And I'm saying these things are bad as concepts. I'm saying that when you're saying that they have no political undertones or messaging, yeah, it's just done. What people really mean to say, I'll translate that for you, and I'll translate that retard speak into smart, intellectual, top G speak. What they mean is manga does it in a way that I like. Western comics do it in a way that I dislike. That's what you say. That's really all it is.
Well,
You
it
just
isn't even that.
prefer
It's like
one way.
so
Go
in
ahead.
like the case of Gundam, the story is inherently political, but it isn't like what people are saying is the colloquial when people say I don't like politics in comics, they mean
Oh,
current
you
day,
mean
current world,
code?
real world
Yeah,
politics.
code gay ass is what I
When,
always called that one.
yeah, when it comes to something like Gundam, whatever, like the entire story's world building is crafted around the politics of that world. It
Right,
isn't based on United States, Europe, Asia, whatever politics. I mean, it may be a little bit of Japanese history here and there in the
right,
politics,
right.
but not really exactly. It's the world of Gundam politics, and the same with the world government in One Piece. They may borrow from some really up things that like governments have done throughout history, as many good storytellers will do, but it's crafted into the world, and for the most part it's there as like an ancillary thing behind the idea of good storytelling, world building, and general adventure. It's not, it isn't like it isn't like I'm gonna go to an anti-ice protest and that's how the Gundam episode starts. It's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? We're the giant robots fighting the other giant robots because the outer space rebellion government crashed a giant pod of
Or yeah,
people into the
or like
earth
if one of the
government. And
enemy, or like if one of the enemy Gundams was all cloaked, was all cloaked in trans flags. And
yeah,
it went down, and he would say
exactly,
Allah
something like that.
Akbar, Allah Akbar, as he's about to get.
Yeah, exactly. It's the flag of Palestine Gundam versus the Jewish Gundam. Like, no, like nobody's showing up to watch that except for
Very
ideological
diehard.
retarded
Yeah.
radicals. Yeah, nobody wants to see that, and that's what we're not in. That's what people aren't interested in politics. But I don't think you. Well, I mean, you got that in the absolute Batman thing there for a second in an annual that nobody cared about. But like, that's the point that people are making about with manga is that there can be
It's just
politics to it, but
written
it's all
and
based in kind
structured
of
a lot
the
better.
world of
That's
it.
what people.
Well,
Yeah, it's just written and
it
structured
isn't
a little
part of.
better.
Yeah, well, it's because it's not part of our world. It's part of
Yeah.
the story that you're reading. It's still
Mhm.
escapism. It
Yeah.
isn't reminding you that X, Y, and Z political policy is disliked or liked or whatever in current day world. It's
Could you
part of
imagine?
that. So yes, does politics exist? Yes, but not these politics.
Could you imagine a world where there's a Gundam cloaked in trans flags flying around saying Allah Akbar?
Yeah, that's probably in a fan fiction somewhere. I'm sure fan fictions are
Oh
wild. Sure, it
shit! God
exists.
damn! All right. Oh my god. Fuck me in the ass. All right. DC boss admits manga is better than American comics and what the big two can learn from it. Well, another thing that we need to bring up with
Well,
this is,
yes, do is another thing.
I mean, another thing that comics can't, it's not that they can't improve. It's more like what you brought up earlier. The distribution model on comics has been bad for a long time. I personally think unless you fix the distribution model of it, you kind of really can't improve. Because, like I said before, if the comics aren't as visible to people, it really just doesn't mean anything,
If you
right?
don't, if they don't find a way to start getting the current generation, so Gen Alpha, that are still children, still old enough to read, old enough to remember this old, if they don't find a
Mm-hmm.
way to start getting Gen Alpha interested in their content, because they're not interested. This is the other thing I'll say, kind of about that manga has over them as well, and it's not even probably going to be addressed here, but manga has animation. All of the most popular mangas have an animated series that kids can go watch on Crunchyroll, on YouTube, on where the fuck ever else. They are making cartoons. American comic books gave up on cartoons. They got sold to the two biggest production studios in the world, who should be able to churn out cartoon on cartoon on cartoon, and for a while they did, and then they stopped, and then the stuff they've put out for animated series has been complete and utter dog shit. It's been garbage Cal Arts bullshit, or something so stuffed with the message that it dies under the weight of its own
Hey,
bullshit.
don't shit on.
And
Hey,
so
don't
they
shit on
just
Adventure Time. Adventure Time is
and
no.
I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about adventure. I'm not talking about any like. Where's the Batman cartoon? Where's the Spider-Man cartoon?
I see what
Where's the
you're saying.
Superman
Yeah,
cartoon? Why can't you make those? Because you can
you had
go and
my adventures
find
with
Naruto or
you
Boruto.
had
You can
my adventures with
find
Superman. Remember, you had that one that came out I think some years ago. No,
like
yeah,
for
a few years
five
ago.
sec for
Yeah.
5 seconds, and barely anybody saw it. They didn't market it. They didn't tell anybody, and it was mediocre at best on some episodes, and some episodes sucked. But like, where was it? Where even was it to put it in front of children? That's the thing. Like, kids love cartoons more. I mean, comics is one thing, but if you can take that was the thing that the 90 that's how the 90s for comic books did so well. The X-Men cartoon series brought a fuck ton of people into comics. And then you had Batman the animated series and Superman the animated series. Boom, you brought more kids in. Kids wanted to see. You saw that. That's how kids knew when they were at the grocery store and they saw the Batman, or they saw
Yeah.
Spider-Man, they saw X-Men comics. Like, oh, that's the cartoon I watch on Saturdays. And then they wanted to pick that. They wanted to see what was going on.
They even did
Most
it
of the
for
time, they just
Iron
fucking
Man.
stare at it. They didn't even read it. Yeah,
People forget
even
they even
Iron
did
Man,
a
the
series
animated
for
series
Iron
ahead.
Man. That one didn't hit as
And
big as the other ones, but they still did
you know
one
what's
for him.
really pathetic and telling is that Disney, the biggest name in animation in the history of the world, has yet to produce a cartoon series for any of the fucking Marvel shit that they bought. Fox Kids did a better job of it. Oh,
Hmm.
so sorry. Let me correct that. They did make X-Men '97, and that was good. And they
Keep in mind
and
that
they and they hated the creator so much for making it good that they shit canned him immediately. And they've yet to put out the second season of it. That's pretty much already done
it's supposed to be coming
because
out
they
later
dislike the
this
creator
year.
so much.
From what I heard, it's
Yeah,
supposed to
but
be coming
dude,
out later this year. So,
it could have been out last year. It was already done. And they hated Bo DeMeo so much for making it as good as he did because he stuck true to the story. And that's the thing they don't want to do. They do not want to make stuff for fans. They don't want to make content Bo DeMeo said as much. He let everybody know
oh,
exactly
I
what
know.
Kevin Feige and the people in charge think of it. And that is the saddest shit. That's what would bring people in. That would save them. There's no reason that Disney couldn't have been producing animated series on animated series on animated series.
Oh,
And
the
they just
other thing
didn't.
to
They didn't
bring
make
up.
anything.
the other thing to bring up in this is people keep saying, yeah, I understand that Shonen Jump can work people to death. I mean, we know those stories with like the manga creators. We know that. But
Yeah.
at least from what I can tell, those manga creators, you work to death. At least you get to make money off your shit. At least you get to actually make money off the shit you make. That doesn't work in American comic
And you
books.
get to,
These people make like nothing here.
well, that's the thing too. Oda gets to keep. Oda has such amount of control over it that he got to keep Netflix from completely fucking the live action version of his series. He was involved in the production. He was there and made sure that Netflix didn't do what Netflix always does to shit when they get a license for it.
Yeah.
Like Oda actually has some control over it. It's that's something even American, especially the movie studios that now own American comic book companies. That's something they could never understand, and they'll never be able to understand that. But
Yeah.
these creators have actually kept those things alive and interesting because those creators cared enough
Yeah.
about it.
And it's so disgusting on American comic book writers and artists to be like, well, in Shonen Jump, the manga authors are overworked and they have bad working conditions. You do too. But the difference between the two is they get to make money. You don't. You can be a good little boy, go on Twitter, post your fucking art about, I don't know, Batman fighting ice, and you make this much off your fucking runs. Even if your runs are good, you know how much money you can make off them? This much.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'd
you've seen the
rather
page
take the
rate
Shonen
that
Jump
American
approach. I'd
comics.
rather work my ass off 40 hours, 60 hours a week. I know at least I'm getting paid
You know why
off that
some of those
book.
guys. You know why some of those guys work so damn hard on it? Because they get paid, and they are respected and recognized for their contribution to that book. Like Oda, Akira Toriyama, continually respected and recognized for working on that book.
Mhm.
Stan Lee had to fight to fucking get recognized, and half of the people who was it? It wasn't. It was Stan Lee. I'm trying to think of one of the creators that they completely fucked over. Shit, I'm spacing on his name, but you remember him. He does the I'm messing up the name here. Yeah, Steve Ditko had to fight for a while. Like he didn't get a
Jack
lot of
Kirby
recognition. That
had
took
to
forever.
fight.
Yeah, Kirby had to fight more than fucking anybody to get recognition for the work that in his contributions to those books. And you know what he never really got though? He never got a fucking taste of it. And that's
Jim
the
Shooter,
difference here is
they
that these
screw
guys still
like,
get
and
tons of
and
people.
this is
And
the
that's the thing.
and
The American
yeah,
comics have a history of fucking over their creators.
and that's the
You don't
thing
hear
is,
that out of Shonen Jump.
yeah, and that's the thing is, I've never heard of a Shonen Jump manga author not getting at least paid. I heard they do get paid. I've not heard horror stories of getting not paid, no royalties, anything like that. So when these Western comic writers and artists are acting like good little boys for Marvel and DC to give the 100th take on Superman, it's like, dude, you ain't getting paid. You're out here just fighting for companies that wouldn't pay you shit, even if your run was good. Like, let's not fun here.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
there might
Yeah.
be bad working conditions, and yeah, I would imagine that's been talked about for years. But I'd rather take that and get money than what the fuck you're doing. You're just virtue signaling on Twitter for I don't know
Dude,
what reason,
you,
honestly.
you know how much Oda is worth because of his
Has
book? They estimate 200 to 300 million dollars is how much they say Oda may be worth. Like,
God damn.
you know what? If I was going to be that rich off of something, I'd probably suffer with some pretty shitty work conditions too.
I suffer with bad working conditions right now. Sign me
Yeah,
up for
well,
whatever the fuck you're doing.
You should
suffer
pay
from
yourself better.
good lord. All right. DC Comics has taken the top of the American superhero comics sales charts for the first time in years, but they are still far from being the top selling comic company. There's a simple reason for that. Manga has held the top spots on these sales charts for years now, with massive manga sections popping up in bookstores across the nation. It's been a massive success story since 2014 when manga sales started going up with no end in sight. Also, I want to provide some prior context to that. Manga sales were always, if not better than comics. Like, guys, manga sells in millions. Comics sell in thousands.
Yeah, outside of the US.
Yeah,
crazy.
I was going to point out. It also keep in mind, comic sales are not as 1-to-1 as manga sales, I would imagine, right? Comic sales are mostly done through someone going into a shop, but the stores have already bought and paid for that stuff. So just want to make sure I put that there. And has become something of a pop culture phenomenon in the United States. Manga is everywhere in American superhero comics, despite the inroads made into pop culture by the MCU, haven't been able to compete. Well, okay, Marvel's did that. Marvel and Disney not capitalizing on the MCU success to push their comic book line because they had already did the all new, all different bullshit. That'll be the biggest L ever. But DC,
Oh, it's a
at least
huge L. It's
DC has
even bigger than that.
tried. Yeah,
They
I
didn't even
mean,
try with animation, dude. Those movies, they should have been cartoons after the movie.
they had one.
Cartoons
Remember,
after the movies, after the comics. They had one, and it was
the Avengers one. They had one.
yeah, it was okay. It was okay. Yeah, and they had that Avengers one. They had the Avengers one that actually came before that. That was very reminiscent of kind of
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Justice
I
League
remember that one.
Unlimited, like the
Mhm.
Mighty Avengers were. Or I can't remember what it was called, but Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers. That was
Yeah.
really good.
Really
That
good.
was so
Yeah.
good. It had a great theme song, and then they shit canned it, and they brought in this other one that was
Spectacular Spider-Man.
based on
That
the
was
movie.
very good. But I don't
Yeah.
think that was. I think that was them. So yeah, what two animated shows?
I don't
But
think neither of those. Well, the Avengers one was Disney, but the Spider-Man Spectacular was not. And then after
yeah,
Disney bought it,
I
like a
think they
lot of these
canceled
things
it.
were already in the work before Disney. They canceled all of it. Now they don't do anything with it. They haven't done anything with it in years. It's as if Disney has like some of the best opportunity and IP to create animation with, and they choose to do nothing with it at all.
Yep. Because I would say DC is at least trying. I've seen DC. I will give them props for this. They had the 100-page Giants. They had
Those
the
were good.
DC Compact
Animated
comic.
movies were good.
They had the books going Dollar Tree like last year. I will say, outside of DC fucking up their Shonen Jump style 100-page giant books, they've tried. But that's the other
Mhm.
problem is you can do what DC's doing, but this is the problem when you have 90 different writers and artists on books. It's still hard and confusing to jump on to where you're gonna start reading. You know what I mean? It's just you're never gonna get over that. You can
Yeah.
what's that saying? You can only polish a turd so much, but it's still a turd. You know? That's just kind of what it is. The big two are cognizant of this fact, and DC Comics head honcho Jim Lee talked about it in an interview about his career and success with Nikkei. I'm not pronouncing that. A Japanese publication. Wang Chingchong one? Oh shit, got it here. Lee has presided over the current success DC is having. Oh, did he talk about that he's late on finishing the last Batman run that started in 2016?
No, they didn't
with
ask
Jeff
him
Loeb?
that question.
Yeah, you can't do that. You're gonna lose your sweet access if you do that. And spoke to the publication about the impact that manga has had on culture and what DC can learn from the example of the Japanese comic industry. Well, here's another problem here. Okay. So whenever I or you or anyone else would bring this up, we were always told, "Oh, you're just in your mom's basement. You don't know what you're talking about." Oh, is Jim Lee in that? You talked about the same shit. Yeah, that's how life works. Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean everything that they're saying is wrong or it's disingenuous. Fucking, I hate people. But you people now that had said that, fuck. Hey, I'll give you this.
Looks like you're going to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
Get banished to the Shadow Realm, you fucking retarded bootlickers. Lee talked about the success of manga and Asian culture in general in the West and had a very interesting perspective on the whole thing. In the interview, he said, and I quote, "The stories told in Japanese manga and anime are incredibly powerful. I often find myself wondering what is missing in Western comics." Bruh. He just basically said, "You guys suck ass at storytelling." That's literally what he's saying. You guys suck ass at storytelling. That's what he's saying. He's saying
Well,
literally,
they don't miss
stop being trash.
it's funny he says that though, because it's his fault. Like, he's in charge. He could pay good creators. There are
He could.
creators out there that'd be good. Like I said earlier, you know what you could do, Jim Lee? You want to make something interesting happen over at DC? Find I don't know. I get the guy, maybe bring in the artist from the current artist in Green Lantern, or maybe bring in Dan Moore or something. Hire Jonathan Hickman and put them on the Flash with Wally West and give us something that fans want. That's what's going to sell. And you know what? People will show up on the main line. People would love to see Wally West back in the mainline Flash book. Give us Wally West. Apparently Wally's going to be showing up in the second issue of Kyle Rayner's run on Green Lantern. I'm probably going to show up and pick that up. But give us Wally West, have Jonathan Hickman come in and write it, and give us a really hardcore let him do something interesting with it.
Mhm.
Like I think after seeing what Jonathan Hickman managed to do with Peter Parker and the Ultimate Spider-Man, because you remember Wally's got a wife, kids, and all that shit. There's a very engaging bit of story that could be told for Wally. That you're going to sell stuff, you're going to get people in there. But this is the thing, if he has any power at all, Jim Lee is the person as the the CEO or the chief creative or whatever. He has power at DC to make these changes. Why does he have to ask himself this question? He knows what it is. He's hired the cheapest writers, the cheapest artists, and spent no money on it at all, mostly because Warner Brothers is hurting for cash, so they probably don't give DC much to deal with. But that's what would do it. Pay for good art, pay for talent, and you will get quality. That's just the name of the game. And who do you have in most of these books? You bring in a talented person for 6 months and they leave because that's all you could afford. And Jim Lee himself, who's talented, he can't even be bothered to give a shit enough about something he's creating to finish it. So not only do you have to bring in talented people, you have to bring in talented people and keep them engaged with the work that they're doing. If editorial
They're
sits on
losing
top of you,
they're losing Philip Kennedy Johnson to Marvel. He was the guy that did the Superman run where he went to War World and shit like that. I get it. There are some awesome writers at DC. I'm not saying that, but like you can't have like you said, you can't have 3 people carrying like 10 awful ones. It's just there's only so much you can do, right? He's okay. Where were we at? 1 second here.
why aren't they? Why aren't they
and
able to
why
achieve the same flavor?
yeah. What is missing in Western comics, and why aren't they able to achieve the same flavor? Also, I think manga has an advantage over American comics, which are mostly about superheroes, and that's where the majority of sales and readers are concentrated. Jim Lee, do you understand? You went to Image Comics, created that with people, and you kind of, I think he truly wants to forget that he ever did that. God, man. In
They had a
Japan,
chance with Image to do something other than superheroes, and they didn't.
in Japan, it's closer to literature and anyone can read it. And it's not just hero stories. You literally went to Image Comics and, well, you literally helped found Image Comics for that very reason. All the shit that Marvel and DC did to him, he went and tried to do his own thing and then left those guys and went back to the establishment. So was it always about doing that, or was it about, hey, I'm making a statement here. If this works out, it does, but I'm still going to keep my line open here, Like, I don't know, honestly. There's a much wider range of genres, like stories about cooking and soccer. Literally, what was Image Comics supposed to be for him then? I don't know. Like, wasn't that supposed to be the alternative? You can draw stories from that. So I'm very happy that the manga has been so successful because it gives me a goal to aim for. Your goal should be fucking finishing your Hush run on Batman ongoing series that should have already been over.
Different goal.
The manga market is bigger than our industry. Oh, goddamn. Oh, he finally admits it.
Dude, that's barely saying anything. The French bande dessinée market is bigger than the American industry. French comics outsell American.
Holy shit!
Where's that one I have? This one's really good. I forget this model's in pieces. Is it up there? Did I move it somewhere else? There it is.
We finally got Jim Lee admitting it. I want to make sure I say this slowly for you retards out there. The manga market is bigger than our industry.
Well, again, even the French market is bigger. And dude, French books are starting to get reprinted in English. Now this one's made by an Italian creator, but they're bigger format. They're hardback, but they're this one's more expensive here in America. But yeah, it's pretty. The art in it is pretty. I've showed you this one before. It's called Noir, and yes, this is a crime story. It's very good though. It's very well written. Single artist and writer for the book. It was very good. But yeah. Even the French market outsells us handedly.
Mm-hmm. He also says, so the question becomes, what can we learn from this? Keep in mind, manga, I would say, really blew up around that mid-2010s period. How are they just now seeing this? it's one of those like at some
They
point
didn't
it
want
is
to admit it. They
little,
couldn't admit it before. Everybody knew
well,
this before.
well, it's one of those things of like, is this too little, too late? They're acknowledging a problem that's been there for, and many other problems that have been here for a very long time. At some point, it is too late. I don't know what else you can do other than there's only so many band-aids you can put on something before it just completely just breaks, obviously.
They have to get it. If they miss this generation of kids, they're going to be really hard pressed to bring it back around without the next generation. Like when old people like me stop buying it,
Yeah.
like when Gen Z comes in and Gen Z's, as Gen Z moves more into the marketplace of having disposable income and everything else, one, they already don't have as much disposable income. So just the economics of the world today mean people are going to have less disposable income to spend on comic books. Comic books are already too expensive as well. So by the time Gen Z is out and Gen Alpha comes in, if the trend continues, you're going to have 2 generations of pretty steep decline of interest in this material. Gen Alpha doesn't care about, like, they care about superheroes because they see them in the movies, but they don't care about the comic books they came out of. They're not interested. They don't care. And there's no cartoons.
The companies realized that many years ago, you could get people interested in superheroes by making an animated movie or TV show or a live action movie or TV show. They knew that years ago.
And they don't even do that anymore. They gave up on it.
Think about that years ago. Yeah. Lee gets to the root of the problem immediately, and that's the sheer variety of manga combined with the way that the Japanese look at comics. There's a manga for everything, from the well-known shonen manga to sports, cooking, romance, and so many more. While American comics are some iteration of the superhero concept, limiting the market, meanwhile, the fact that comics and an animation are looked down as children's media in the West adds to this. Okay, I agree with that part, but comic books actually have this, guys. There's a lot of different comics based on like all that stuff right there. There is, but people don't go to those other companies and read them the same, right? So if Marvel and DC had these and actually put good writers and artists on these, that could be a step in the right direction, right? Because Image Comics and Dark Horse and IDW and all these other people, they have those books, but no one buys them. And see, to me, that argument falls on the line of logic of people say that's what they want, but the sales don't reflect that, right? Sales for the American comic industry do not reflect people want that. They just don't. The sales don't reflect that. But you could do that. I don't think that it would matter that much. That's just my opinion. I don't think that really adds to anything. Like, you have that variety right now. People just don't go and read that shit because it's like that whole thing of like they're saying what kind of sounds nice to say versus what they actually mean.
Yeah.
But children's
but
media
plenty of variety.
is down on. Like, but
high
children's
fantasy.
Media,
there's plenty of other stuff to read. High fantasy, you got some Mega Man video game stuff, you like that. Like there's plenty of, I mean, shit, I don't even know if I have any superhero stuff in here. Monster Island, though, that's the one cover from Graham Nolan. But yeah, like my stack right here of things to read is a bunch of different things. And this is one thing you're seeing in the indie market is a lot of different kinds of stories being told. And I think it works. Like, you're seeing an evolution through the independent market of the comic book marketplace and what people are buying in the independent space. And maybe that starts to break out more. But yeah, Image Comics was supposed to be that. So was Dark Horse Comics. There's other publishers out there that do create other things. It isn't because it's Marvel and DC just make superheroes, and they're the big two ones. Because Marvel and DC have failed kind of terribly at doing anything but that, and they're not even good at doing superhero books anymore. They're just not. I mean, other than a few outliers here and there, there's a lot of mediocre to crap. And you've got a couple standouts like Jeremy Adams with his Green Lantern, and God, I have a hard time thinking of anybody else doing anything that's going to be quite that well off. I mean, you had Jonathan Hickman with Ultimate Spider-Man, like,
but that's ending.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Ultimate Wolverine series was pretty interesting as well. Like, you had some of these,
I like that one too.
high points stuff that were pretty interesting, but it's like, other than that, the superhero stuff isn't great. Like, I don't even read that much superhero books. When I did have a box again recently, most of my stuff with other things, like the best thing I read right now in comics is Conan. Zeb Wells. Is it Zeb Wells? It is Zeb Wells, I think. His Conan is very good. the character's pulled off very well. It's very interesting, very well written, and you get a good story out of it. And it's,
Mm.
I guess you could say Conan is kind of a superhero, but not exactly a superhero. But
Yeah, well, it's just also the way that the
Jim Zub,
comic.
sorry, not Zeb Wells, Jim Zub.
Well, it's also just the way that comic books are looked at. Like I have heard that manga authors and manga itself is looked at entirely differently than the way we would
Yes,
look at Western comics too. Adults in Japan respect manga and anime as art forms and still consume them into adulthood. Lee also brought up the
yeah,
fact that the youth trends often revolve around the young wanting something new that's uniquely their own. And in the West, that's manga. Superhero comics revolve around the same characters that generations have read. They can feel old fashioned to young readers, while manga takes them to new places. Yeah, because keep in mind, when it comes to like superheroes, stuff like that, there's only so many times you can have X Batman, Superman, X-Men, Spider-Man, Hulk, Avengers, Justice League runs until it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's just the same character. We are just doing a different story based off the same character 1,000 times. Lee's perspective on the whole
yeah,
situation is very interesting. Lee knows that manga is beating the pants off superheroes, so using them as a guide is the right way to go. One of the interesting things about DC Comics in the last few years is that the publisher has tried to do something beyond the same old superhero stuff. DC has always been the home of great horror and sci-fi. In recent years, have seen readers get some slice of life comics like Fire and Ice minis. No one likes that. This is the problem. You can do these slice of life books. They have to be good. I've heard nothing but bad things about Fire and Ice. Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman. Heard that's shit. You know?
yeah.
Oh, I heard they're also bringing back Vertigo. But they're bringing back that. But DC has Black
Could be
Label.
interesting.
The publisher has also been putting YA stories that use the superhero characters in decidedly non-superhero ways, trying to follow the example of manga, and we're getting the return of Vertigo, adding even more variety to the industry. DC Comics has always put out amazing books. That's, I guess, if you're shilling for them, sure. But they still have a way to
Yeah.
go to get to the same levels sales of manga is. They're never, guys, that's the distribution problem. Oh my goodness. No single comic book from this era will ever have 1 million sales. Never happen. It's just, we're not in that golden age like we used to be in. It's not happening.
No, even what was it? Even I think Absolute Batman is probably the closest thing we've seen in a while, and it was what 400,000 or so that it sold, which is good.
The regular Batman did 500, something like that.
Yeah,
but that's units sold. That's not, you can't tell how many
Yeah.
people went in there and actually bought it singly. That's why it's always
yeah,
weird when you talk about like sales like that, because the sales for comic book industry is not the sales the same way like a Walmart sells something, right? It's so but they never bring that up because they're just being disingenuous fucking bastards. Lee is cognizant of how far they still have to go, but the fact that he looks to manga as a guide is heartening. DC has always been the one that broke new ground in the comic book industry, especially after the last few decades. If the company can start using manga style storytelling, expanding their output a la the manga industry and taking American comics to new places, it will be better for everyone. More variety means more stories for fans, and that's the entire point of fiction. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with most things said here, but the problem here is sales sometimes on these books don't really get better, right? Because we had even Scott Snyder saying, hey, Absolute Martian Manhunter, 6 issues, right? But if the sales are good, more will come. And that's how it is now. You get guaranteed 6-issue miniseries, but if the sales aren't there, they're canceling it. They know they really can't sell you a character past 6 issues because the sales just might not be there, That's why they're going back and doing compendiums of these characters like Nightwing and Tim Drake Robin and Lobo and Green Lantern, right? That they're finding different ways to make big collected editions so you can get invested to the characters, right? But it's still going to have the same problem. But actually, what are your final thoughts and opinions on what Jim Lee said?
Well, he's correct, but it's nothing new. This was news a decade ago. It's just news. It was news that was uncomfortable to have to talk about, especially for the film industry that does overwhelmingly own comics, and to the detriment. Like Marvel being bought by Disney may have saved them from bankruptcy, but it destroyed the IP.
Mhm.
And I would even say the same for DC, though they've survived longer under Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers kind of left them to be their own thing. But even now today, it's to their detriment to be owned by a large corporation. There should have they would have been either like Marvel would have been better off going bankrupt and restructuring, or in all honesty, even having the IP splintered and sold the fuck off. And I mean, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, that may be what happens. I know now that like who knows what's going to be the end result of DC comic books when Warner Brothers gets bought. Where does it go? What's the final deal for all the things that DC owns? They would be better off bought by somebody else who cares about the product. Say the same with Marvel. If for some reason Disney ended up getting sold or ended up getting a board that actually cared about it, the smartest thing they could do is try to find a third party to run the comics for them at the very least. And I would say the same for Warner Brothers. Relinquish editorial control over it, and maybe even relinquish some of the budget of it. Maybe shift it off to a third party to do this for you. Outsource it to some company that gives a shit about doing it. Uh, Give it over to fucking even Jeff Johns and let him take over it. Do something. Jim Lee never did anything good for DC Comics. The last good thing he did for comics in general was the original Hush story that wasn't bad. It was a good story. That was it. After that,
Well,
he
I'll
should have
count
retired.
getting DC away from Diamond and just going to Lunar.
Dude, that was going to happen because Diamond was going to crumble underneath the weight of its own
Yeah.
mismanagement. I mean, Diamond was not long for the world, no matter what. They were going to go away. And the distribution thing hasn't changed anything. The distribution's still a pain in the ass. Books are showing up late all the time for comic shops. It's just more splintered for them now, and they have to look in more places for what to deal with. And they still end up having to buy crap they don't even need as well for certain incentives. But Jim Lee hasn't done anything. He should retire, but he's not wrong, but he's not saying anything of consequence or new, and it isn't going to change anything about what DC does because he sits there and thinks about it, but he's the guy who has all the authority to do something about it. At least he should be. Really, who has the authority to do something about it is the board of Warner Brothers that doesn't want them spending money on this bullshit. They want to use it for propaganda and messaging, and I would be surprised, short of a few outliers, if any of these books made them any money at the end of the day. And they don't. And the only reason that they may make some money is because they pay so little to the cheap creatives that nobody's ever heard of before that work in the industry that it doesn't cost them very much to produce it, and it looks like it. And Marvel even more so. It looks like they don't pay very much to have these things produced. They're cheap. They're a Timu version of what we had in the 90s in large
Mhm.
part, short of a few outliers that are truly actually good books
Right.
run by people who actually worked on by people who give a shit about the characters. But as you see, like, and this is the thing that's kind of a black pill with comics is you saw the way it went, and then editorial at Marvel basically decided they didn't want to. Marvel decided they didn't want to try to keep Jonathan Hickman on Ultimate Spider-Man, so they let him walk. One of the best things that's been produced by any comic book company in the last 20 fucking years.
Yeah.
We're gonna let him walk. The
It's
fans
just
got what they
they're bad
wanted for 2 years, and
decisions.
it's over now.
You understand, like the
Yeah,
reason why they're also in this spot is not just because manga is overtaking them. Their bad decisions have put them in this spot too. They're constant bad decisions made by various different people of very similar mindsets, despite them also not liking each other for years. Yeah, at some point, all these bad decisions are going to come back to bite you in the ass. They just are, you know. And
yeah.
now we're at this point where I will give DC its props. They are trying things. They are trying to, let's say, move the needle. Marvel is just fucking cooked. I genuinely believe that they just don't give a fuck, honestly, because they're just used as a tax write-off for Disney at the end of the year for tax
Pretty much.
purposes.
I mean, to be
There's
fair, that's all DC Comics probably as well. I mean, for the most part, they just write off losses.
Mhm. Well, yeah. What do you guys think about Jim Lee admitting the comic industry is failing? And just for me personally, these are things I've been saying for years. It's so nice to have someone like him being like, yeah, we're kind of really behind. Yeah. And keep in mind, that's what happens when you have 50 when these characters have like 80, 90 plus years. And no one is saying you can't enjoy. I enjoy both manga and comic books, but You can, guys, this is how you know you're talking to dumb, retarded people. You can enjoy something, but also admit it has problems too. I don't get why that if you do enjoy something, you can't admit it has no flaws whatsoever and it's constantly perfect. I don't do that. So that's just not me personally. But so thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you've not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video. I'm MSK, aka Master Swag King, and we're going to sign out, guys. See you guys later. Goodbye. Peace. Wow. What's the next compendium I'm
Shooty
getting?
juice.
Oh my god. No, it's fine. I could just mention this right now in the stream. Another problem with DC, it's not in the manga discussion anyway. You know how like they'll print a book in a certain format? So they printed Jeff Johns' JSA run in compendium. They did one compendium of it, but it's already in omnibus format. They haven't put out another compendium for it. Or Tim Drake Robin. There's not another compendium 2 for that. It's like, if you want people to even get on board with what you're doing, you need to continue it, though. Like, Tom King had his Batman run in book 1 and 2. Where's the book 3? You know, like, people don't like that. Investing their money to something, then that format is just discontinued for maybe the sale. Okay, if sales weren't there, sure. Well, then, I don't fucking know people anymore. Kill me now.
Dude, I don't know.
But yes, last few things. Anything you want to bring up about? Oh, that's what I'll ask you before we head out. What do you think about Rumble Shorts finally coming?
Interesting. We'll see how it goes. People hate shorts. People like shorts. So
the owner said they're coming February 4th. So I don't know if you can only produce Rumble Shorts through Rumble Studio. Hopefully that's not the case. That's just.
I think you can just upload them or something as well from the website. So
yeah, and at that point, I would just upload a short from a web. I just upload my own YouTube Shorts anyway, right? But I don't.
Might as well.
Will Rumble Shorts change anything? I mean, if they can give you some kind of discovery on Rumble, I mean, hopefully it does. But unless it gives you some kind of discovery on Rumble, it's still going to be in the same spot. I hope this is a good idea. I like the idea. I hope it turns out good. You know.
I hope it works for them, man. They still have a long road to hoe with some things, but hopefully it's a further step in the right direction.
All right, Aussie man, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
No, nothing really, dude. I'm here, I'm there when I can be or when I'm not. Just, you know.
Okay. And
no plans for now.
Yeah, having sex with my wife?
No, I'm not going to do that.
But it's a couch.
I don't know your girlfriend. WZ for the clips.
Oh, God, man.
For the clips. Thank you. More for
As
WC.
you guys...
That'll be a paged and 3rd times a clearance as well. That'll be coming to the next issue.
As for me, I have podcasts and game streams coming up, and you guys can look forward to those as I do them throughout the week. So thank you guys for coming by and checking out this episode of the MSK Show.